All right, so we're diving deep today, folks, into personal finance, but like not the surface level stuff.
Yeah, no get-rich-quick schemes here.
We're going for those core principles, the things that,
Mm,
set you up for success long term.
absolutely.
And to do that, we've got some pretty incredible sources lined up. We're talking Robert Kiyosaki.
Ooh, yeah.
We've got Naval Ravikant.
Love him.
And we're even going to be digging into the ups and downs of Mike Tyson's financial journey.
Now that's a story.
Right. It's going to be fascinating to see what we can learn from all these different perspectives.
You know, what I find really interesting is how personal finance, it's so much more than just crunching numbers.
Oh, for sure.
It's really about understanding the psychology of wealth, right? Like
Mhm.
how our mindset and our habits, all of that really impacts the financial decisions we make every day.
Absolutely. And that's something that our first source, Los Seven Principios que debes hacer para salir de la pobreza, really hits on.
Okay, tell me more.
They talk about this need to shift from like a consumer mindset to what they call a saver and investor mindset.
Ooh, that's so key. I mean, that distinction is just crucial. You know, a consumer mindset, it's all about that instant gratification. Spend money as soon as you get it, right?
Yeah.
But an investor mindset, it's all about delayed gratification. You're thinking long term, you're putting that money aside to build something bigger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's less about, I want it now, and
Mm-hmm.
more about, how can I use this to create a better future for myself?
Yes. It's about building assets that generate income,
Right.
right? Things like real estate, stocks, even intellectual property. These are things that are putting money in your pocket.
Right. Versus like racking up liabilities that are just constantly draining your account.
Ugh, yeah, those are the worst.
It's exactly what Robert Kiyosaki talks about in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, like
Right.
understanding the difference between, what's putting money in your pocket and what's taking it out.
Exactly. And this shift in mindset, it applies to everyone, regardless of income level, right? I mean, the source actually uses this really interesting example. They talk about Rihanna.
Wait, Rihanna?
Yeah, that Rihanna, even she faced, financial challenges early in her career.
Wow, that's kind of surprising to hear.
It just goes to show how easy it is to fall into that consumer trap, regardless of how much money you're bringing in.
Absolutely. It's a good reminder for all of us to, really be mindful of our spending habits, no matter what our income is.
For sure. Now, another key principle that really stuck out to me from chapter 2 was this idea of like our words having power.
Hmm.
They call it productive pronouncements. Basically, the way we talk about money can actually shape our financial reality.
So it's not just about our actions, but like our self-talk about money too.
Exactly. If we're constantly telling ourselves, I'll never be able to afford that, or I'm just bad with money, it's like we're setting ourselves up for failure.
You're almost programming yourself, right?
Exactly. We need to cultivate a more positive, more empowering inner dialogue, like shifting from I can't to how can I?
I love that. How can I? It's like opening up possibilities instead of shutting them down.
Absolutely. The source even gives this example of two brothers, Pedro and Jose. Pedro, he's just constantly negative about money, always saying things like, this will never work.
Oh, no.
Jose, on the other hand, he approaches money with this really positive, proactive attitude.
So like two totally different mindsets.
And guess what? Their lives totally reflect that. Jose ends up flourishing. He's doing great.
Good for Jose.
But Pedro, he's struggling.
It's that self-fulfilling prophecy in action. Just like how our thoughts become our reality, especially when it comes to finances, it seems.
It's powerful stuff.
Okay, so we've got the mindset shift. We've got the positive self-talk. What else is crucial here?
Chapter 3 dives into this trap that I think we all fall into.
Uh-oh, what's that?
Comparison. Especially in today's world with social media, it's so easy to get caught up in comparing our financial situation to others.
Oh, yeah, the keeping up with the Joneses syndrome.
Exactly. And Kiyosaki in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he talks about this a lot, saying that, trying to keep up appearances can lead to overspending and just a ton of financial stress.
And it's so easy to fall into that trap, right? Seeing those perfect lives on Instagram and feeling like you don't measure up.
It's a very human thing to do.
Yeah.
But it's dangerous, financially speaking. The source actually tells the story about a woman named Carmen who becomes like obsessed with projecting this image of wealth.
Ooh, I've known a few Carmens.
Yeah, and it leads her to a ton of debt, and ultimately she's really unhappy.
Sad, but it makes sense.
The takeaway here is that true success, it comes from aligning your spending with your values and your goals, not someone else's.
So it's about defining what success means to you, not what society or, Instagram tells you it should be.
100%. And speaking of things that can throw us off track financially, let's talk about emotional spending.
Ooh, yeah, that's a big one.
Morgan Housel, who's this brilliant financial writer, he says that financial success is more about behavior than IQ.
It's so true. We can know all the right things to do, logically, but then, our emotions take over and we make these impulse purchases,
All the
or
time.
we try to soothe a bad day with a little retail therapy.
Yeah, or we try to impress people by spending money we don't really
Oh,
have.
for sure. Like, our emotions hijack our good intentions.
It's classic. It's a perfect example of this. Mike Tyson.
Oh, yeah, that's a cautionary tale if I've ever heard one.
The guy made hundreds of millions of dollars during his boxing career, but ends up bankrupt.
Wild.
It's a perfect example of how unchecked emotional spending, mixed with bad financial decisions and a lack of guidance, can be a recipe for disaster, even when you have a ton of wealth.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that money without emotional intelligence and, some sound financial habits, it can disappear pretty quickly.
It really can. But the good news is that there are things we can do about it. The source gives some practical tips for managing those money emotions.
Okay, like what?
Things like practicing mindfulness, setting clear boundaries for yourself, and having a supportive network. People who can hold you accountable.
It's like having a financial coach in your corner.
Exactly. All right, so now to really get a grasp on your finances, we need to talk about a fundamental concept: the difference between assets and liabilities. Chapter 5 really breaks this down.
Okay, remind me again, what's the difference?
So assets are things that are putting money in your pocket, right? And liabilities are the things that are taking money out.
Okay, got it.
So think of like real estate that's bringing in rental income, stocks that pay dividends, or maybe a business that's generating profits. Those are all assets.
Hmm.
Now, on the flip side, you've got that fancy car that's constantly losing value, credit card debt with those sky-high interest rates, or even a big house that eats up all your income in maintenance costs. Those are liabilities.
So it's not always about what you own, but how that thing is working for you or against you financially.
That's it.
Hmm.
Even something like a car, it can be either an asset or a liability, depending on how it's used.
Like if you're using that car for, say, a ride-sharing service, that could be an asset.
Absolutely. But if it's a luxury sports car that you're just driving around for show, well,
Probably a liability.
likely. And to illustrate this, the source tells the story about two coworkers, Luis and Martin.
Okay, I'm listening.
So Luis, he's all about appearances, spending money on things that make him look successful. The flashy stuff.
Yeah, I know the type.
But Martin, he's different. He's focused on building wealth, investing in things that will generate income for him over time.
So who do you think ends up in a better financial position? I'm going to guess Martin.
You got it. Now, all this talk about finances, it brings up an important question. Like, how do we even start talking about money with our families? Especially our kids. It can be such a touchy subject. You're absolutely right. Chapter 6 in this source actually emphasizes how important it is to have open communication about finances within families.
Okay. So what, like teaching kids about saving their allowance?
That's a good start, but it goes deeper than that. It's about having honest conversations about financial goals, about challenges, even about mistakes.
So breaking down those money taboos and making it a normal topic of conversation, just like we talk about health or education.
Exactly. And they actually quote Mario Borghino, who talks about how dangerous it is to make money a taboo topic.
How so?
It can lead to misunderstandings, conflicts, and missed opportunities to really educate our kids about finances.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, we're not doing them any favors by pretending money doesn't exist or that it's not important to talk about.
Exactly. And, they share this really interesting story about this wealthy man who never discussed money with his children. Then, after he passed away, they inherited a fortune, right? But they had no idea how to manage it responsibly.
Wow, that's a tough situation. It's almost like inheriting a Lamborghini but never learning how to drive.
Exactly. So it's not just about passing on the wealth, it's about passing on the knowledge and the skills, right? So future generations can actually handle money responsibly and build on that foundation.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about mindset, self-talk, avoiding comparison, managing our emotions, understanding assets and liabilities, open communication. Is there anything else we need to cover in this financial crash course?
Oh, yeah, there's more. Let's talk about building multiple streams of income. This really aligns with Naval Ravikant's philosophy, the idea that true wealth, it comes from owning assets or businesses that generate income even when you're not actively working.
That's the dream. Like
Yeah.
passive income, right?
That's a big part of it. It's about creating financial security and freedom by having multiple sources of income flowing in.
So that could be anything from like rental income, side hustles, investments that pay dividends, even starting your own business.
Exactly. And the benefits are huge. It's not just about more money, it's about having more stability, more flexibility, and honestly, less risk. If one income stream dries up, you've got others to fall back on.
Makes sense. The source actually gives a really cool example of this, talking about Conaguero, the soccer
Oh,
player.
yeah, he's got a great story.
So he had to retire early because of a health issue, right?
Yeah.
But instead of just, sitting back, he used his platform and his skills to build multiple income streams.
He's a hustler.
He really is. And it's inspiring, right? Like he turned a setback into an opportunity.
Absolutely. And one of the strategies he used, and that the source really highlights, is the power of investing in other businesses through stocks.
So instead of just buying like a fancy gadget, you're buying a piece of a company that's already generating wealth.
Exactly. You're becoming a shareholder. And as a shareholder, you get to benefit from the company's success through dividends and stock appreciation.
It's like having many businesses working for you in the background, generating income while you sleep.
That's the idea.
Wow, I feel like my brain is full. Mindset, habits, assets and liabilities, communication, multiple income streams. It's a lot to digest.
It is a lot. But remember, this is a journey, not a sprint. And the most important thing is to just take that first step.
So what would you say is a good first step for someone who wants to start, getting a handle on their finances?
The source suggests starting with something simple, just reflecting on your relationship with money.
Okay, so like thinking about my beliefs about money, my spending habits, my financial goals, all of that.
Exactly. They even suggest writing down your definition of money. What does it mean to you? What emotions come up when you think about it?
That's interesting. It's like before we can change our financial situation, we have to understand our own personal money story, right?
Mm-hmm.
And identify any limiting beliefs we might have.
You got it. And once you have that awareness, you can start to build those positive habits one step at a time.
So no need to make drastic changes overnight. It's about those small, sustainable adjustments that lead to long-term success.
Exactly. Start small. Create a budget. Set up a savings plan. Even just tracking your spending for a month can be really eye-opening.
Those are great starting points. And it's important to celebrate those small wins along the way, right?
Absolutely. Every positive step, no matter how small, it's moving you towards financial empowerment.
This has been so insightful. I feel like I'm already seeing the world of personal finance in a whole new light.
That's great to hear. Remember, financial freedom, it's a journey, but with the right knowledge, the right mindset, and those good habits, it's a journey you can absolutely take.
It's been an amazing deep dive so far, but I have a feeling there's even more to uncover, right? What else is in store for our listeners?
Well, remember that activity we mentioned earlier, the one about paying attention to people's complaints.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. What's the connection to personal finance?
We'll be diving deeper into that next time. The idea is that those complaints, those, ooh, I wish there was a better way moments, they can actually spark brilliant business ideas. Like, those are little clues to untapped opportunities and maybe even financial abundance.
Okay, I'm hooked. I can't wait to hear more about that. So everyone listening, stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll be exploring this concept further and hopefully giving you some tools to really take control of your financial future.
We'll see you there. All right, so remember where we left off last time? That idea of like really listening to complaints.
Yeah, it was kind of a cliffhanger. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, to be honest.
It's not about, dwelling on negativity or anything like that. It's more about training your brain to see the potential, like where others just see problems.
Okay, so it's less about getting annoyed by those online rants and more about thinking like an entrepreneur.
Right. Exactly. It's about spotting those unmet needs, those gaps in the market, where you could actually step in and create a solution. It's like shifting from a consumer mindset to a creator mindset, seeing the world through the lens of how can I make this better?
So instead of scrolling through social media and thinking, ugh, everyone's complaining, it's about thinking, wait a minute, there's a business idea here.
Exactly. Because every complaint at its core, it's a signal. It's saying something's missing. A need isn't being fulfilled. And that's where the real magic happens for entrepreneurs.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. So, like, let's say I'm reading a thread online and everyone's complaining about how hard it is to find healthy, affordable takeout options in their area.
Boom, there's your business opportunity.
Really?
Seriously, you could start a meal prep service delivering healthy meals.
Yeah.
Or a food truck specializing in, like, nutritious but budget-friendly dishes.
Oh, I like that.
Yes.
Okay, what about this? I see people complaining about how impossible it is to find reliable childcare. Like, good babysitters, trustworthy daycare centers, the whole thing.
Another gold mine. You could start a babysitting co-op, a home-based daycare, or even develop an app that connects parents with vetted sitters. The possibilities are endless.
Wow. I am seeing complaints in a whole new light. It's like a treasure map to untapped needs and potential solutions.
That's the spirit. It's
Yeah.
all about developing that entrepreneurial muscle. You know, that ability to see problems as puzzles to be solved, challenges to be overcome, and often the solutions to those challenges can lead to financial rewards.
This is so empowering. But let's be real, not every complaint is going to be $1 million business idea.
True.
How do we figure out which ones are those truly valuable opportunities?
It's a great question. It's about looking for patterns, recurring themes, complaints that keep popping up again and again. And it's also about finding those complaints that resonate with you, you know?
Okay, like something that aligns with my own skills or passion, so it doesn't feel like a chore to work on.
Exactly. And the source also talks about the importance of testing your ideas. Don't just jump headfirst into a business based on one complaint thread.
So do your research, gather some data, maybe run a little pilot program to see if there's real interest.
Exactly. Be smart, be strategic. And even if one idea doesn't work out, the process itself is so valuable.
It's like they say, fail fast, learn faster.
Yes, you're building that entrepreneurial confidence and those critical thinking skills. Okay, so speaking of taking action, let's circle back to some practical things you can do right now to boost your financial well-being.
Okay, love it. Practical tips.
Because remember, financial freedom, it's not just about like making a ton of money. It's about having the knowledge and skills to manage your money effectively.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sometimes it feels like everyone's just focused on investing and making these big money moves, but the basics are just as important, if not more so.
Absolutely. And the source really reminds us of those foundational principles, starting with saving, even if it's a small amount each month. It's about building that base, having a cushion for those unexpected expenses, and giving yourself the resources to invest in your future.
So that emergency fund everyone talks about, get that set up first.
Exactly. And then once you have a good saving habit in place, that's when you can start thinking about investing wisely. And that's where the magic of compound interest comes in.
Okay, compound interest. Remind me how that works again.
Basically, it's the idea that your money earns money, and then that money earns more money.
Like a snowball effect.
Exactly. It's your money working for you even while you sleep. But I know investing can be a little intimidating, especially for beginners.
Oh yeah, it's overwhelming. So many options, so many strategies. It's hard to know where to even start.
Totally get it. The source encourages starting small, educating yourself about different investment vehicles, maybe even talking to a financial advisor if you need some guidance.
So take baby steps. Learn as you go. No need to become a Wall Street expert overnight.
Exactly. You know what they even suggest?
What's that?
Starting with a piggy bank.
Wait, a piggy bank? Seriously.
Yeah.
In the age of, like, digital everything?
I know, it sounds old school, but hear me out. It's a visual reminder of your financial goals. And they suggest making it fun, you know? Find a piggy bank that represents your dreams. Like, if you want to travel the world, get one shaped like a globe. Or if you want to buy a house, get one that looks like a little cottage.
Okay, I can see how that could be motivating. It's like creating a positive association with saving and investing rather than seeing it as this, like, chore.
Exactly. And they also talk about diversifying your investments, you know, not putting all your eggs in one basket.
So spreading your risk across different asset classes, like stocks, bonds, real estate, maybe even a little cryptocurrency if you're feeling adventurous.
That's the idea. It's about finding the right balance for your risk tolerance, your financial goals, and your time horizon. But you know what often holds people back from even getting started?
What's that?
Those limiting beliefs, those little voices in your head that say things like, I'm not good with money, or I'll never be wealthy.
Ah, those are the worst. They sabotage us before we even begin.
Right. And the source addresses this head on. They suggest replacing those negative thoughts with positive affirmations.
So instead of saying, I'm bad with money, it's about saying, I'm learning to manage my finances effectively.
Exactly. You're rewiring those neural pathways, focusing on growth and possibility, not limitation. They also talk about surrounding yourself with the right people.
You mean people who support our financial goals and inspire us?
Yes, people who lift you up, not drag you down. And just as important, avoiding those who drain our energy or discourage us from pursuing our dreams. They also caution against, constantly comparing ourselves to others, especially when it comes to finances.
That's hard though, right?
Yeah.
Especially with social media. It's so easy to get caught up in that keeping up with the Joneses mentality.
It is hard, but it's so important because comparison, it just breeds unhappiness and financial strain. It's about focusing on your own journey, your own definition of success, and tuning out all that noise from the outside world. Remember, financial freedom, it's personal. It's about achieving your own version of abundance, whatever that looks like for you.
Okay, I love that. It's about defining our own financial goals and creating a path that aligns with our values and priorities, not someone else's. Now, earlier we talked about Kun Aguero, the soccer player, and how he built multiple income streams after having to retire. I'd love to hear more about how he actually did that, like what specific strategies he used.
Yeah, he is such a great example of someone who took a setback and turned it into an opportunity. So first, he leveraged his personal brand, his expertise to create a really successful esports team.
So he used his passion for gaming and turned it into a whole new business venture.
Exactly. And he also partnered with different brands and companies, becoming a sought-after spokesperson and influencer.
That makes sense. He already had this huge following, so he leveraged that to create new income streams.
Smart, right. And on top of that, he diversified his portfolio, investing in real estate and other ventures.
So he really embraced that idea of having multiple income streams, each one coming from a different source.
He did. And his story just goes to show that financial success, it's not always about one big win. It's about consistently creating opportunities and diversifying your income.
That is so inspiring. But I have to be honest, all this talk about business ventures and investing can feel a little overwhelming, especially for those of us who aren't ready to, start our own company or jump into the stock market. What about smaller, more manageable steps we can take? Things that anyone can do to improve their financial well-being.
You're so right. And it's important to remember that financial well-being, it's a holistic concept. It's not just about building wealth. It's about creating a life that feels abundant and fulfilling in every sense. And that starts with taking care of yourself, both physically and mentally.
So like investing in our health, our relationships, our personal growth, all of that.
Exactly. The source actually emphasizes this too, saying that self-care is a crucial foundation for financial success.
That makes sense. It's hard to focus on building a secure financial future if you're feeling stressed, burnt out, or neglecting your well-being.
Exactly. And they suggest simple things like practicing mindfulness, prioritizing quality sleep, and finding healthy ways to manage stress. All of these can positively impact your financial decision-making.
So it's like a positive feedback loop, right? We take care of ourselves, which allows us to make better financial choices, which then further contributes to our overall well-being.
You got it. And it doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. Simple things like going for a walk in nature, spending quality time with loved ones, reading a good book. These can do wonders for your mental and emotional state, which in turn can positively influence your financial outlook.
It's about recognizing that financial well-being is interconnected with all aspects of our lives. It's not just a separate category.
Exactly. Now, speaking of interconnectedness, there's one more piece of the puzzle we haven't touched on yet. Communication. Specifically, communication within families when it comes to money.
Oh, right. We talked earlier about breaking down those money taboos and making it a normal topic of conversation, especially with our kids.
Exactly. And the source really digs into this, emphasizing how important it is to create a healthy financial culture within families.
So what does that look like?
It goes beyond just teaching kids to save their allowance. It's about having those open, honest conversations about financial goals, challenges, even mistakes. They even suggest involving kids in age-appropriate financial decisions,
Like what?
like planning a family vacation budget together or discussing charitable giving.
That's a great idea. It's about empowering them with knowledge and skills from a young age. But let's be real, sometimes those money conversations can be tricky, even with adults.
Oh, absolutely. The source acknowledges that, saying that talking about money can be sensitive, especially if there are different values at play or past conflicts that haven't been resolved.
So how do we have those conversations effectively without them turning into arguments?
They suggest approaching those conversations with empathy, with a willingness to understand the other person's perspective, and a genuine desire to compromise. It's about listening actively and finding common ground.
So it's less about dictating financial rules and more about collaborating, creating a shared financial vision for the family.
Exactly. And, they even suggest seeking guidance from a financial therapist or counselor if needed.
That's a good point. Sometimes those deeper issues might need a little professional help to work through.
For sure. Now, remember that story we talked about earlier, the one about the wealthy man who never taught his children about money?
Yeah, the one where they inherited a fortune but didn't have the skills to manage it.
Exactly. It's such a powerful reminder that it's not just about passing on wealth, it's about passing on financial literacy, giving future generations the knowledge and skills they need to make smart choices and create their own path to financial well-being.
So it's about empowerment, really.
It is. And that financial education, it goes beyond just knowing how to balance a checkbook or invest in the stock market. It's about developing a healthy relationship with money, one that's grounded in awareness, mindfulness, and intention.
It's about seeing money as a tool to support our values and goals,
Yeah.
not something to be feared or worshipped.
Exactly. And it's a lifelong journey, really. As our lives change, our financial circumstances and priorities evolve too. It's about constantly learning and adapting.
This has been so insightful. I feel like we've covered so much ground. Practical tips, mindset shifts, those deeper reflections on our relationship with money. It's a lot to take in, but it's so valuable.
It has been a great conversation. And remember, financial freedom, it's not just a destination, it's an ongoing process, a journey of learning, growing, and making conscious choices that align with your values and goals.
I love that. It's about empowering ourselves to create the financial future we desire, step by step, day by day.
You got it. But we're not done yet.
Yeah.
Remember that activity we talked about, the one about paying attention to complaints?
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's about turning those of moments into aha moments, seeing complaints as potential business ideas.
Exactly. And that's what we'll be diving into next time. We'll explore how you can train your mind to spot those golden opportunities and turn those entrepreneurial sparks into real profitable ventures.
I can't wait to hear more, so stay tuned, listeners. The journey to financial freedom continues.
Okay, so are you ready to turn those complaints into some serious cash?
I'm all ears. Like, I'm picturing myself with my detective hat on, magnifying glass in hand, scouring the internet for those hidden clues.
That's the spirit. And trust me, those clues are everywhere. People complain about, well, pretty much everything, right? Long lines at the store, finding a decent plumber, you name it.
Okay, so every time someone says, ugh, I wish there was a better way, that's like a little light bulb going off, a potential business idea just waiting to be discovered.
You got it. It's all about training your brain to see those complaints not as annoyances, but as opportunities. Opportunities to create solutions, to fill those gaps in the market that people are literally crying out for.
Okay, I'm starting to see the potential here. So let's say I'm scrolling through my feed and someone's venting about how their office cafeteria has, like, zero healthy food options.
Boom. There's your business idea right there. You could start a catering service that specializes in healthy corporate lunches, or maybe a meal delivery service that caters specifically to office workers who are tired of those sad desk salads.
I love it. Okay, what about this? I see people complaining about how much they hate dealing with their email inbox. Like it's constantly overflowing and stressing them out.
Another brilliant opportunity, you could develop an email management tool, offer virtual assistant services for email organization, or even create a course teaching people how to conquer their inbox chaos once and for all.
I'm telling you, I am seeing the world through new eyes now. Complaints are like little gold nuggets just scattered everywhere.
That's what I like to hear. But of course, not every complaint is going to be a winner. We need to learn how to separate those fleeting frustrations from the ones that have real market potential.
Yeah, good point. How do we do that?
The source suggests looking for patterns, recurring complaints about a specific product, service, or experience.
Okay, so not just one person ranting about a bad cup of coffee, but multiple people expressing the same frustration over and over again.
Exactly. It's about identifying those pain points that are widespread and significant enough that people are willing to pay for a solution.
Makes sense. And once we've identified a potential opportunity, what's next?
Validate, validate, validate. Don't just dive headfirst into a business based on a hunch. Do your research, gather data, maybe even run a small pilot program to test the waters and see if there's real demand for your solution.
So smart, strategic entrepreneurship, not just like shooting from the hip.
Exactly. And remember, even if one idea doesn't pan out, the process itself is incredibly valuable. You're honing those entrepreneurial skills, you're building confidence, you're learning how to think critically and solve problems. That's a win in itself.
It's like leveling up in the game of life.
I love that analogy. Okay, so we've talked a lot about building wealth, investing, creating multiple income streams, but we know that financial freedom, it's about more than just the numbers in our bank account, right?
100%. It's about having the resources and the freedom to create a life that feels truly meaningful and fulfilling. And that definition is going to look different for everyone.
Exactly. And the source really highlights this, emphasizing the importance of aligning your financial goals with your values and passions.
So it's not just about accumulating as much wealth as possible.
Mhm.
It's about using money as a tool to create the life you actually want.
Exactly. It's about asking yourself, what kind of life do I want to live? What experiences do I want to have? What impact do I want to make in the world? And then figuring out how your financial choices can support those aspirations.
I love that. It's about taking a holistic view of financial freedom, recognizing that it encompasses not just our bank accounts, but our overall well-being, our sense of purpose, the whole picture.
You got it. It's a journey, an ongoing process of learning, adapting, and making conscious choices that align with your evolving needs and aspirations. And remember, it's a journey that's available to everyone.
I love that message. So to our listeners out there, I say, take those first steps, embrace the learning process, and most importantly, believe in your ability to create a future filled with abundance, both financially and in every other aspect of your life.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Keep those entrepreneurial sparks flying. Remember that every complaint is a potential opportunity, and never stop exploring those possibilities.
On that note, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into personal finance. We hope you found it insightful, inspiring, and maybe even a little bit life-changing. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep those money conversations flowing.